Dumalang, beautiful people, and welcome to Brandtegy, a combination of branding and strategy. My name is Mpom Pafi, and I'm a co-founder of Brandtegy together with Calvin Motwanedi.
Hi guys.
Welcome to our YouTube channel, guys. So we noticed that a lot of entrepreneurs are struggling with how to handle their finances, which is why on today's video we're going to be giving you tools on how to better manage your finances as a startup business or as a small business. We're also going to be giving you information on how to apply for funding on the different institutions like your banks, government, from your friends and family, how you go about doing that, and from equity investors. So that is what today's video is going to be about. Before we jump into it, Calvin, do you have any comments from people on social media?
Yeah, so going through social media, we didn't have much on WhatsApp and others, but Facebook was on flames, eh? So here we had a lady by the name of Kiora Laribel Marwane. So she asked us, do we print labels?
Oh, we wish we were printing labels, Kiora, but we actually just design. We go as far as designing your stuff, your logos, or any form of graphic work that you want, and then we can refer you to good people who actually do printing.
Yeah. So the next one here that we have is Nashriki Maponya.
Is it Maponya?
Maponyane. Oh, okay, yes. Sorry about that. Hey, my language is defeating me here. So he was just appreciating the page, saying long live Twelopile, long live. Yeah, so in other words that just means Pambi, forward yes. We go. Yeah.
We will go forward. Thank you so much.
Exactly. So awesome stuff. Then we have Buitumelo Nkau. So he was also appreciating the page. He also said, I like it, boy, Mara. I didn't finish the video because of data. Sorry.
Data is a problem.
Sorry about that. So, but like in future, what we'll try to do is we'll try and make them shorter. But you can imagine on our side, we're trying to squeeze in all this information in 15 or 20 minutes. So that's what we're battling with. But we're like, in future, we'll consider it. Yeah.
Thank you for the engagement, guys. We truly appreciate it. Continue engaging on Facebook as well as on YouTube. Also, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell for new content.
Yeah, and let's jump into today's video. Guys, like the intro told us above, lots of entrepreneurs are actually facing difficulties with their finances. So basically the tools that we'll be showing you today, they'll be helping you guys, yes, the normal entrepreneur, basically to better manage your finances. So the tool that we'll be mainly looking at today is a cash flow statement. So what a cash flow statement is basically a summary of a financial statement that actually records the amount of cash that's entering and leaving the business. So it also determines how well the company generates its cash to pay its obligations, and also how well it can finance its operating activities. So basically the other uses of a cash flow statement, it comes in two parallel worlds. So the one world is the investor's world, and the other one is your creditors. Whereas your creditors, now what they look at how you manage your money. So they look at the flow of the money of the operations, of how it came in, all the way to how you actually spent your money. So coming down to the actual cash flow statement, it's divided into three parts. So it's namely your operating activities, your investing activities, and also your financing activities. But for today's exercise, we'll be mainly focusing on operating activities. So in your operating activities, these are things that your so-called rent, salaries, sale of goods, or even paying your interest accounts. So in terms of just to name off the top of my head, investments what you'd find there is purchasing of equipment, financing activities. What you'd also find there is repayments of loans. So if you took out a loan, not the interest portion, the actual principal amount that you'll be paying back. So that's what you'll find there. So so how it works is that if an amount is positive, don't put a bracket around it. So if it changes, if let's say you buy more inventory, so this will namely go to your operating activities, you'll put inventory and then right to the right you'll write down the amount it cost, and then no brackets, go on to the next line, and then on the next line, if you paid rent, you'd literally go underneath, write rent, go to the left, put it in brackets, which symbolizes a negative, and then that's basically the flow of how it will go. Yes, and so now what we'll be doing today is that we'll be analyzing an example of a cash flow statement. Yes, I know the statement looks a bit outdated, but just bear with me here. So as you can see in this cash flow statement, the person actually, he's been performing quite well. He actually ended on a net surplus of 1.5 million, and that's actually quite good. So as I'm going through this cash flow statement, you can actually see that the bulk of the positive cash flow stems from the cash earned from operations, which is a good sign for investors. It also means that the core operations are generating business and that there is enough money to buy new inventory. The purchasing of the new equipment shows that the company has the cash to invest in inventory growth. So basically with this positive cash flow statement, these are the things that investors, or how you would interpret it at the end of the month or end of the year. But seeing that you are starting business, it's highly recommended that you actually do this exercise once a month. Let me see, what else? Okay, the other thing here is that, let's say, it's not always that you'll have a net surplus. There are times when you will have negative cash flows. So namely, this is not always a red flag. So the other way to look at it is that somehow you were deciding through during the year to expand. So when you're expanding, it goes without saying, you spent a bit more money than usual. So here an investor would be looking at the changes in the cash flows from one period to the next. So this is how the investor would actually interpret if whether you actually on the verge of actually bankruptcy, or actually you're about to boom. Yeah, and so basically, with that being said, that's how you would analyze or interpret the cash flow statement. So guys, now that we analyze the cash flow statement, here are some good tips on how to actually better manage the cash flow. So tip number one, know when to lease or to buy. The reason why this is one of the greatest tips is that a lot of entrepreneurs make the mistake of using their full amount or capital amount or in buying capital equipment. It's not always the case or feasible. It's not always feasible to actually go out and buy equipment cash. Sometimes you could get better offers if you actually lease the product, and it's always better to have extra money for unforeseeable situations or for those opportunities that might present themselves. So the second one here is that it's always best to shop around for prices, for better prices. So in the first month, I would assume that like your prices are pretty much the same wherever you stock your inventory. So, but going forward, whether you assess it quarterly, monthly, or yearly, it's always advisable to actually try do this exercise, looking for cheaper products or services, just to have a bit more money going forward. The third one here that we have is that consider increasing the prices of your products. No, please do not go out and increase your products overnight. You will definitely lose your loyal customers. So sit down with your team, assess the market, and then gradually increase the prices, because customers do know that things go up. You don't want to find yourself in being stagnant and thinking that you're not making money. Meanwhile, it's because your prices are above market. Yeah. So the fourth one here is it the fourth one? Okay, yeah. The fourth one here is to incentivize your customers. So try getting some kind of payment schemes. So basically, if they pay sooner, you'll give them an X amount of discount. So yeah, I think those are the major cash flow tips. Moving on to unexpected costs. Most entrepreneurs think once you've had your business plan in check that you've ticked everything and nothing will ever happen or go wrong, of which this is mainly not the reason. So with unexpected costs here, there's lots of things you would consider. Number one, permits and licenses. There's lots of companies that will start operating and only to discover that there's a certain license or permit they overlooked, and they end up getting closed down for. And then also professional fees. So as much as you're a bakery, farmer, or a retail outlet of some sort, you still need your own accountant. We can't all be lawyers to draft contracts. So it's always advisable to actually look into professional services and just see how you can filter them into your company. So guys, today we have a small activity here. So we have two scenarios. Mpo will take you through the other scenario. So in these scenarios, we just want you guys to exercise or flex those brain muscles. So in these two scenarios, we have two people that are looking for funding to expand. So we'll be going through these scenarios, and in the back of your mind, just try and jot down in terms of who is more likely to get funding. So here's the first guy. So this is how Bob has been operating. Month 1. Bob operates out of his garage from home. He asked his friend to assist him. Bob has no bank account for his business. Bob asked his uncle for startup capital of 10,000 Rand. Month 2. Bob buys all his inventory from the local dealer. He sometimes asks for the receipt for the things he purchased, and sometimes he forgets to ask for that receipt. Bob prefers buying his inventory daily for freshness, but forfeits negotiating bulk deals. Month 3. Bob pays his friend every week a minimum wage, but his friend is clueless on how to make fish and chips. So most of the time he burns the fish. He cuts the potatoes too much sometimes. His friend does not carry lunch to work. So Bob and his friend eat some inventory for breakfast and lunch. Month 4. Bob puts all of his earnings in a jar in his room. He sometimes counts the money to see how much he made, but he often puts it in a jar to accumulate. Month 5. Bob is the elder son. Since his jar has a lot of money, he helps his younger sister with buying groceries and also acquiring study material for her studies. Month 6. Bob now has a lot of customers growing, and he has established a good customer base. Sometimes they cannot even serve all of them because of all the orders that have piled up. Bob got advice from one of his customers that his business is doing well and he should expand it through applying for a business loan.
Okay, now on to Stephanie's scenario. Stephanie is 24 years old. She runs a bakery for the last 6 months. This is how long Bob has been operating. Month 1. Stephanie resigned at a major bakery as a supervisor of the cookie department. Through the money she has been saving for the last 4 years, which amounted to 50,000 rand, she wrote a business plan of the bakery she wanted to open. She then looked for a busy area where a bakery did not exist, and she found a shop to rent out. Month 2. She looked for 2 qualified bakers to help. In order for her to have a record of her income and expenses, she decided to open a bank account and register for a swiping machine. Month 3. In order to receive discounted prices, she buys all of her baking aids in bulk. All her purchases are used using her business card. Month 4. Stephanie asked an accountant to set up a payroll system linked to the business account in order to pay her employees. Due to employing experienced staff, she's able to maintain consistency with her famous recipes. Month 5. On the payroll system, she has also added herself to receive a fixed salary. The extra money she makes, she keeps buying equipment for her business. Stephanie is putting together all of her bank statements and business plan to present to the investor the following week. Okay guys, so with the 2 scenarios of Bob and Stephanie, we know that Bob wants to apply for a bank loan and Stephanie wants to pitch her idea to an investor in the hopes of getting funding for the business to expand the business. So what I'm going to be sharing is ways in which you can apply for funding at 4 different kinds of institutions. And after I go through that, we need you guys to comment below to tell us who's more likely to actually get funding between Bob and Stephanie. So with the banking one, I want you to understand that it is not easy to get funding from to get a loan from a bank, simply because they use the credit committee to determine whether your loan gets approved or disapproved. So the credit committee looks at your credit score, your personal credit score, as well as your business credit score, and if it is low, then your chances of actually getting approved are very low. The other thing that they do is that they get industry experts to come with standard ratios for that industry, ratios for your cash flow as well as your profit margins. So if they don't match up the industry standards, then your loan is more likely to be declined. The other thing that they look at is collateral. So what that means is that as a small business or as a startup business, you are high risk for a business because you've not been in the game long enough for them to determine that you'll be able to repay them. So they'll want you to present an asset that they will, as collateral, an asset as collateral or an asset as surety that they will then take if you default on your loan. So with that being said, I'm just going to share the kind of documentation that you will need to present if you wanted to to apply for a bank loan. So firstly, obviously you need to give your business plan. Then secondly, they would want your bank statement for the past 6 to 12 months. Then they will want your financial statement for the previous financial year. They will also want the business owner's ID documents as well as their banking details. They'll also look for they'll want your CIPC documentation of when you registered the company. They also look for loan specific documents. What that means is that if you are applying for finance so that you can buy a vehicle for your business, they will want that kind of documentation. Or if you got a tender and you're saying that you need money to fund the tender, they will want that tender document. So those are the kind of documentation that they will need from you from a banking institution. So the next institution that I'm going to focus on is equity investors, right? I think what you need to understand is that with equity investors, their decision making is based on the fact that your business is based on the fact that they need to know that your business is actually going to grow big enough to actually make profit for yourself and to make profit for them to get their return on investment. So that is the bottom line for equity investors. So I've put up a list of criteria. You don't have to meet all of it, but at least 80% of that criteria you need to actually try live up to it, so that you can actually stand a chance to get finances from equity investors. So the first thing that they will look for is a strong entrepreneurial characteristics and a good team. So you need both a great team as well as great leadership in your business. So they will do that. They will look at the kind of experience that the leaders as well as the team has. They will also look at whether they've got the ability to actually execute and take the business to greater heights. So the second thing that they will look for is whether your products are disruptive or innovative. So they want to know, do you have a unique value proposition that you are taking to your clients, and is your value proposition clear that you're taking to your clients? And also they want to look at like intellectual property of your idea, to know that people will not just steal your idea and then start becoming your competitors. You also need to have done strong research on your competitors to know how long it will take for them to actually catch up to the level where you are. So that's number 2. Number 3, they want to know whether you've got large or growing markets. So how you can show them that you've got like a whole pool of markets that you haven't reached. As a startup business, you can actually show them the rate of growth in your current employees with the pilot research that you have done on your small base. And if you're an existing existing business, you can show them your strong client base to show that, you know, if they invest more money in you, you will be able to tap even into those other markets. So that's the third thing that they look for. The fourth thing that they look for is whether you've got existing clients. So like an angel investor might be interested in a small business and might not also look at like the client base because they know that you're starting. But venture capitalists look at the numbers, they look at the value of your markets. So your clients, your existing clients are also important for investors. The fifth thing that they look for is your profit potential. So whether you've got high profit margins in order for you to actually make enough money for them to get a good return on investment, and also to sustain yourself, because you also need to sustain your business with those profits. So a high profit margin is also important, and that is what they look for. Number 6, they look for scalability of your business. So for example, if you have an IT business, you know that a lot of processes can be automated with technology. So in that way, you know, you are most likely to be able to scale up your business, as opposed to, for example, having a business where actually creating your product requires a lot of human effort. You know, that might not be a business that is able to become scalable. So those are some of the things that they look for. And then lastly, the seventh thing is they need to understand the exit, that they might just be with you for the first couple of years, but then eventually they will need to exit after they've gotten their return on investment. So those are some of the things that equity investors actually look for when they consider in giving you finances and investing in you. So thirdly, the kind of institution, it's government institutions. So with government institutions, if you have socio-economic driven goals, you are more than likely to actually get funding from business, because it means that, from government, because it means that you're actually helping them with their key objectives, which are also very socio-economic driven. For example, the key objectives of the government is, number 1, job creation. You know, job creation at large, but also job creation for the youth, job creation for people with disabilities. They also look at like job creation for people, races that have been previously disadvantaged. So for example, if you've got 51% of owners or people who've got key decision making powers in your business from previously disadvantaged races, they look at that. And they also look at if you've got, let's say for example, 51% of your key decision makers have to be women. So those are some of the things that they look at from a job creation perspective. Then the government will also look at whether you are improving the amount of exports, right? So if your business exports the stuff that you create, the products and the services that you create, they are more interested in that, because it means that the more we are able to export, it is the more we are able to have kind of like a trade surplus as opposed to having a trade deficit, and that directly just impacts our economy, the growth of our economy. So they're looking for people who can have businesses that actually export to outside countries, because that also means that we become competitive not only on a national level but also on a global level. So they look for those innovative ideas. The other thing that they look for is your legal compliance. So you need to be legally compliant with your taxes have to be up to date, UIF has to be up to date, as well as any industry specific accreditations and certificates. So those things need to be up to date. So that is it from a government's perspective. So if you really wanted funding from government, you need to position your goals. Your goals have to be socio-economic driven. And then lastly, we look at if you wanted to have funding from a friend or family. Yes, that is very important, that you just don't do things haphazardly, right? So even with that, you need to draw up a contract. If you wanted your friend or your family to fund you with money or with any asset that might help your business, you need to draw up a contract to say, okay, fine, this is how much you gave me and this is how I intend on repaying you back, and should my business not boom the way I'm anticipating for it to boom, this is my backup for me to actually be able to pay for you, right? And the other benefit that you're looking at there is if a family member invests money in your business, if they give you that loan, when you give them back the money with interest, as opposed to giving a financial institute your interest, you're actually rotating the money in the family. So that is a great positive when it comes to that. So yes guys, that is the advice that I have for you if you wanted to apply for funding in order to expand your business.
Okay guys, so with all this being said, please guys try WhatsApp us, comment down below in terms of who is likely to get the loan, or how can who improve in terms of their business models. So next week we'll present it and see what you guys are thinking out there. So now coming up next, let's head into the news.
From our news section, we have Trade and Industry Minister Ibrahim Patel gazetting new regulations for e-commerce trade. What that means is that if you're selling goods online, you are now able to operate selling all of the goods and services, obviously with the exception of not being able to sell alcohol and tobacco products for obvious reason, as you all know that we are trying to flatten the COVID-19 curve. So this is particularly great, especially for small businesses who are selling stuff online, because it means that they are able to go back to regular business and thrive in these tough times in business. So this is also great for those who don't have an online presence, because it is a great opportunity for them to start transforming how they do business and to start digitizing their processes, to start digitizing even their selling point, to ensure that they also are covered in the new economy of adopting the fourth industrial revolution. And that is it from our news section.